So, what do I think of it? It's really clear that they were going in the footsteps of the original two Fallout games, and I think they did a very good job of it, in that the vibe is very much like them. It plays also very much like them. And although there's some, well, let's say, rough edges, overall it was very enjoyable. I mean, the first two Fallouts also had some rough edges. Sure, they were released at this point, like, what, 25 years ago? Something along those lines. You can say that the standards have increased, but, well, even though the credits are pretty long, I'm pretty sure this is like a small company that made this happen. So, by Kickstarter funding. So I can forgive them some parts of it. That said, there are a bunch of things that kind of don't super sit well with me. Like, for example, the super slow walking around the map. I just don't understand that decision. It was annoying as hell. Just slowly walking around, doing nothing. Yeah, you can make it faster with a survival skill, but like only a little faster. Apparently there was an option to buy a car in the game. Like, I saw the guy who sold the cars, but the cars were so fucking expensive. I don't know where do people get that money. At no point did I have enough money to buy, I think, even the cheapest of the cars, unless I was gonna like give up everything I have, basically, and also give up opportunities to travel to some of the areas that I absolutely needed to travel for the main quest, because for some reason there were these travel costs that were some of the biggest money sinks in the game. Were they afraid that people are gonna get too rich? And I already feel like I spent way more time looting garbage and selling it than would be healthy for the game. Like, there was so much garbage to loot. Unnecessary amounts of garbage to loot. Another thing that kind of bugs me is how random a lot of the combat felt, in the sense that almost anything can kill you in like one turn. But then, if you get a good shot, you can also kill a lot of stuff in one turn. Which is like a turn-based RPG game feels a bit off. Like, you could load into a random encounter with some random raiders and die in the first round. Oh well. It didn't help that I don't really understand how the damage calculation works. The combat log doesn't show that, and sometimes I dealt, even without critical, sometimes I was dealing more damage than it was shown on the weapon as the range. Sometimes I dealt like no damage even when using armor-piercing rounds. I don't fucking know. In any case, yeah, the combat led to a lot of saves coming, and I'm not even ashamed of it. I think the game made me save scum like a motherfucker. There was no other way to get through significant parts of it. Another thing that I guess I kind of started understanding it at some point, but what the hell? There had to be a better way than just make strength the requirement for ranged weapons. And I mean, I guess dexterity for melee makes some sense, although dexterity only makes you more effective, not more able to use weapons. Then again, it did let you use weapons that you don't have the stats for, just less effectively, which kind of helps along with that. But yeah, I mean, okay, maybe they decided that's how the balance works best, but then put that in the attribute description. That's the biggest problem, really. When you're starting the game, you're allocating your attributes, and it doesn't say that you need strength for ranged weapons. I used strength as a dump stat, because I didn't know I was gonna need it for this. I thought I was just gonna have low carry weight and stuff, like, oh well. Also low melee damage, because it helps with damage there. Okay. Although, speaking of mechanics, they did have some good ideas as well. Like, for example, when you pickpocket someone and you fail, they don't immediately attack you, they first just like warn you. Which might seem weird, because on its face the usual approach of instant combat kind of makes more sense. Like somebody's in your pocket in the wasteland, you're probably gonna attack them immediately. But well, what's gonna happen a lot of the time in a game is the player just loads immediately. So in this case, that reduced the saves coming by some amount. So props for that. The writing. The writing was all over the place. Seriously. First off, there was way too much writing. Not every rando on the street needs those 4 same questions that I could ask him, and they all give me, I think they were maybe even unique responses. All totally useless, all just a waste of time. Most of them not interesting in the least. They're just there so that, I don't know, you could feel immersed because you can talk to everyone. Well, for true immersion, you would talk to no one, because that's how we do in a normal street in a normal day. We just walk by everyone, we have places to be. I don't know, I think it's kind of like with the loot, where there were giant bunkers filled with probably literally hundreds, at least in case of the Dead Pass or whatever, the Mountain Pass, whatever it was called, the bunker. I think there were literally hundreds of containers, mostly containing garbage, but some had important stuff, so you kinda had to search like pretty much all. Not fun. Same as asking the same questions to every villager to see if anyone has something special to say. Not fun. Although I don't think it was really necessary to ask them all those questions. I didn't. I may or may not have missed some parts of the game. Whatever, I guess the game was fine where it was. Fine-ish, I guess. As for the quality of writing, some of it was really good. Some of it was just goofy as hell. Like the bookseller dude just throwing in random Jewish words in the conversation. Like, do Jews do that actually? Feels weird, man. Or there were multiple cases where a conversation would just be filled with references to some song. In one case it was Smash Mouth. What was that? The Shrek song that somebody once told me. All Star, yeah, All Star, that song is called. What? It just came out of nowhere in the middle of a conversation. Like, nice meme, bro? In this ostensibly serious game? Because I think most of it was quite serious, and then there were just some deeply unserious parts, like the circus with some chick with her talking coochie, and guy with a beak, another chick was lays eggs because that's what radiation does to people, makes them into these goofy little mutants. Like, what? That made no sense. Radiation isn't magic. Yeah, but the main plot was actually a really interesting idea. Although I feel like they kinda fudged it up a bit in the end. But yeah, overall, that was fine. So I realize I've mostly just complained about the game during this recap, but it does bring something very lacking in gaming. That Fallout 1 and 2 vibe. Wasteland 2 did not get that to me. Wasteland 2 I feel like was too linear, too combat focused. This is a truly open world, go wherever you want game. And there's content everywhere, which at some points it does make it harder to accomplish stuff. It creates some kind of friction, but I think it's kind of necessary. You can't put an arrow on the map when there are actually 4 different ways to complete a quest, and there often were. And sometimes it involved going to the other end of the map, finding some item you need, and you could bash through, I think, almost any, including all the main problems with brute force. And even if you weren't really built for it, like I wasn't built for it, you can save scum to enough criticals to still bash through. So aside from a couple of poorly thought out locations, Bunker 317, where you can walk in and be trapped with your save basically locked, unless you load another save, of course. But well, yeah, your save is locked, you have to load another save. That was a thing in this game. You have to keep a lot of saves. Yeah, there was never like a true stop where there's no way forward. At least once I figured out that saves coming criticals is a viable tactic in fights that otherwise seem impossible. So overall, I think this is like a solid 7 for me. I'm looking forward to playing the sequel, because if they just improved on some of the weaker parts, then could be an amazing game. We'll see.